and at the same time, I'm focusing on a not-for-profit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's finding smart ways to, you know, bring the energy, as you mentioned, to the things that you want to do, and then also tying that to what you're passionate about. Because frankly, if I was lacking passion in any one of those things, there's no way I would be thinking about, you know, this other entity while I'm sitting here trying to, you know, execute this strategy and this job. Because I wouldn't be passionate about it. It wouldn't even be part of my thought process until someone pinged me on. I'm like, oh yeah, well, you know. So it's you know, the energy comes from, I think, the passion.
Is that something that, you know, you've aspired to, or early on kind of aspired to be? You know, you mentioned you know, thinking about being an executive director of a not-for-profit. You know, did you think about being a people leader at, you know, a Fortune 500 or, you know, anything else? Was that something that you actually aspired to do, or was it, you know, once again, kind of, you know, your passion for, you know, effectively changing, you know, people's lives or inspiring people, and then just, you know, something that you just continued to, you know, focus on? Or at what point did, you know, were you able to kind of make that shift?
Yeah, I did not aspire to that. And I would dare say, you know, very few, or maybe fewer, you know, those individuals that have reached whatever levels they've reached, you know, saw themselves at that level early in their career. I think it's this idea, which has always been my idea, of kind of just getting up every day and putting one foot in front of the other. And you know, 5 or 10 years from now, if you're doing something positive every day, you know, there's value that's going to come from that. You know, as a people leader, again, I think my athletic background helped to shape that.
Sure.
But I'll also say that I have a little maverick in me, which is, and not to the detriment, because I've also been very empathetic always to people and people's situations. Even though, you know, listen, you're talking to a poor kid born in Jamaica, grew up in Lynn, Massachusetts. We didn't, you know, I didn't come from a lot.
Yeah.
But I've always been empathetic to those who came from even less, because even in that, you know, being, you know, I won't say poor, but, you know, certainly not coming from, you know, money.
I get it.
You know, I realized there were others that were certainly much worse off than I was. So I've always had that kind of, felt that dynamic, you know, and saw that pretty clearly. So I think I brought that with me. And then being in these situations where, from an athletic perspective, was helping to shape kind of, you know, who you were and, you know, how you engage and possibly led. And I've always, again, I've had this maverick personality. Like me, I've always been one that I like what I like. I'm interested in what I'm interested in. And I'm okay if someone else isn't. I'm okay with that. It's not going to stop me, you know, it's not going to stop me from, you know, I give you a perfect example, and you may know, I think you know this, you know, I'm a big, you know, true school hip hop fan.
Absolutely.
I'm 54 years old. I love the music today as much as I did when I was 22. You follow me?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm stuck in 1990 to 2004, somewhere in that ballpark. You know what I mean? And so
it's a classic time in hip hop, man.
No doubt. And so even, you know, in my 40s, I was putting together these Tuesday night events. We call them Third Eye, just to get together, just to listen to true school hip hop music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And frankly, if 2 people came, I was good. I was good. Didn't matter. You know what I mean? Because that's what I like. You know. And so I think oftentimes I use that as an analogy to say, oftentimes as individuals, we sometimes get off our path because we feel that maybe others aren't connecting to our path the way that we want them to connect to, right? And so, you know, is if I put together those events and only 5 people came, even though I love the music, well, why am I doing it? Only 5 people came. But I was doing it for me. You know what I mean? And if you're doing it for you, who cares how many people come, right? Others walk away from that. You follow me? They walk away from it because they're not getting the positive, approbation, and so therefore in their mind it's not of value. And for me, I think that's where the leadership comes in, because ultimately I'm gonna love it. And I know that there are people, I know it may not be you, but I know there are going to be some people who are going to love it and they're going to come. And that's who I'm interested in, right? Yeah. And that's no different than the men's dinner group. When we started that thing, it was literally 6 of us around a dinner table. And we just, we would do it, 1 or 2 would come here or there. Yep. This was over 20 years ago, right? But think of, we've done some of those events where one day, one event, we get 30 men, the other event we get 8. Yeah. But again, for me, it was my passion was one to connect with other brothers. Yeah. And so whether it was one person in that room or 300 like we had at HubSpot the last time we did it. Yeah. I see value in either one of those dynamics, right? Yeah. And I think you can't, if you're going to lead, most leaders take positions where they're willing to be that only person on that island. They're willing to do that. You can't lead if you're unwilling to be that only person on the island. Leaders have to be able to bring people in, pull them in, have them see value in what you're doing, and then lead them forward. Yeah. I don't know a leader whom their perspective is, let me find what the hot thing is and just assimilate to that. Yeah, that's true. Then you just become one of, you know what I mean? So that's, I think I've always, later on in life, I've come to kind of understand it a little bit, but I've always been that dude, I'm okay being that person. Yeah. And I'm still going to be good with you. We still going to be good. We can still, engage and connect or what have you. But I'm going to be, who I am, and hopefully it's not to the detriment of anyone or any one thing. But I think you have to really be willing to step on that island.
Man, this is powerful, man. Once again, we're on the Only Dream Big podcast, right? And so I think that it's so critical what you said, as our listeners are thinking about a dream that they have or a vision that they're trying to bring to fruition, like within an organization or anything else, that it is okay to appear contrarian, but to move away, especially in this like social media type time frame that we live in, where somebody makes a post and then you spend your time like refreshing your page, just waiting to see if somebody likes it, right? And I think that's so powerful, what you said, and wanted to re-emphasize that, because just showing up and doing it for you. I want somebody, like, I think there's going to be multiple people. I'm already understanding that people are going to DM me during this moment in this episode and say, dude, that was powerful for me. Because you need to continue to show up, even just for yourself, based on your passion and vision that you're trying to bring to fruition, because eventually it'll come to fruition.
Definitely. There's what is it, 300 million people? I don't even know what the number of people.
That's in the U.S., right? I think.
Yeah, in the U.S.
Like 7 or 8 billion in the world.
So you just think about that number. And the diversity within that number, diversity of thought, diversity of people and their makeup and their perspectives. And I'll go back to my hip hop point. My thought process is of 300 million people, there's probably 2 to 3, 4 million that think just like me. And I'm trying to connect. It's a big number still, right? Yeah. So whatever your dream is, whatever your perspective may be, those people may not be in your immediate circle, but they're out there. They're out there, and how you're gonna reach them is really your passion, your willingness to be consistent in that thought or what you're driving towards or what have you. And this is not, I'm certainly not speaking to the individuals out there that just want to be a contrarian just to be a contrarian. That's not me. That's not me.
A lot of trolls in the world.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just saying that I know what drives me. I know what's important to me. I know what I like. And I'm okay with that. If I am the only one that may think like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, the willingness to kind of stay that course and just be who you are. You know, what I've come to find out, people really appreciate that in individuals. Believe it or not. You think everyone is, you know, they want someone who is about what everyone else is about? No, what really I think pulls people to people are attributes that they find maybe dissimilar from the attributes that they may have, right? It's man, I wish I could do that, or wow, your perspective is different, you know, wow, I wish I could lean into some of that. Maybe not wholly just, you know, be like that individual, but you know, you appreciate things that are kind of you know, particular pieces of other individuals, right? Yeah. And so we try to adopt some of those things that make up, you know, you collect things along the way to kind of make and shape who you are. And so again, I mean, I think people do gravitate to those individuals that, you know, just are really just, I'm very sure and self-assured. And I'm not perfect by any means. Trust me. I'm not perfect by any means. I got enough to work on.
Sure.
But I know what those things are, right? I know where I'm not strong, and I'm okay with that. I'm looking for people who are strong in those areas so I can, you know, incorporate some of what they have or bring them along with me, right? Yeah. But I do feel like I know where I am strong, and I really try to play on those strengths as best as I possibly can.
Yeah. Well, I think that's so strong, man, when you talk about like that level of authenticity, right? I think that's what people are at times, you can like empower people to also be their authentic self. Yeah. And to your point about, you know, 300 million people in the US or, you know, 8 billion people in the world, there's only one you.
That's right.
And so if you're willing to be your authentic self, I think no matter what setting you're in, if you're anything other than that, it'll come to light. Definitely. Right? So there has to be a comfort. I know for me, there's a significant comfort in being who I am, you know, sticking with my values, my purpose, you know, and all of that. Because if I pretend to be somebody that I'm not,
that's right,
then at some point, like that's going to come to light. So it's so much easier for me to, you know, as you mentioned, you know, having your children with you. I mean, Sophia has been in more Zoom calls, internal and external,
that's right,
than you know, I feel like any baby. Yeah. You know, and so it's those kind of things that I think are so powerful. You know, and you know, for everyone listening, I think, you know, once again, getting the opportunity. I think I mentioned it before as we're ending. You know, I think it was the great prophet Michael Jackson, who, you know, talked about, you know, looking the man in the mirror. Let's be inclusive. That person in the mirror. You know, and just being willing to, you know, once again, be authentic and continue to pursue your passions. I think that those are, you've just given some real, you know, nuggets today, Emerson, you know, for people to really reflect on as they're continuing to kind of move throughout life.
I definitely appreciate that.
That's great, man. Well, this has been the Only Dream Big podcast. We appreciate everybody. Thanks for all our listeners, and we'll see you next week. If you like today's podcast, tune in to our social media to get updates on our next episode. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, at Only Dream Big Inc., and hit the subscribe button below.
That's all for today, folks. See you next time.